Welcome to Carrow Road for the last time in 2018. Happy New Year to you. I'll get that out now. As you can see, there's lots of resplendent floodlights behind me. We did have a slight issue where there wasn't one here as Norwich faced Derby. Where it finished Norwich City 3, Derby 4. Struggling really to work out where to start, where to go with this and what to say, because, and I should really be used to it because it's happened all year, but gee whiz. Okay, so first things first, Norwich were 2-0 up early in the first half, and all I wanted at that point was for Norwich to keep a clean sheet, shut up shop and just protect their lead and take it away, which would have been lovely. Derby got so deep in that first 25 minutes, they really were struggling to deal with Norwich. They looked like their confidence had really been hit, and they looked a complete shadow of the side I was expecting to see here, because I really rate what I've seen from Derby. A little bit inconsistent, which maybe comes with a few younger players and an inexperienced manager, but quite clearly a load of quality when they're really at it. The goals coming from Ben Godfrey, his first championship goal of the season, I'm pretty sure of that, and he raced on as Derby struggled to clear their lines, and Teemu Pukki took the second after a Mario Vrancic break. He took it so well, and it was brilliant work from Mario as well. Of course, still playing in place of Moritz Leitner, who is going to be out until the end of January, as is Emi Buendia. So with those absences, I think there was a demand on Norwich to really dig in, and they played actually pretty well for most of the games in most phases and forms of the game, including the fact that they were 2-0 up, which was a brilliant place to be in. The problem was when they went to, it's fascinating really, whether it's Norwich switching off and reducing their level because it was 2-0 and they were trying to shut up shop, I don't know, or it was because Derby couldn't have got any deeper at that point. They just switched on. They were so, yes, both goals came from Norwich failing to really clear their lines from corners, second balls, both brilliant finishes, I'd have to say, from Tomori the first off the underside of the bar, and then Mason Mount wonderfully taken second right on the stroke of half time. In fact, exactly the same time as Matty Cash scored for Forest, their first goal on Boxing Day. But those two goals also came from the switch going on, from Derby exerting a lot more purpose in their counters, having real numbers and pace on the break, and Norwich getting a little bit last ditch, they were struggling to contain them, and then of course the actual penalty and price told through the actual set pieces, and Norwich struggling to clear their lines. And that was probably fair enough in the first half, because although Derby probably had shorter spells of dominance, they were much more profound, and I thought they created quite a lot, and they probably deserved to be level in the first half in truth. Well, I'd say that. Norwich were dominant in first half, so clearly when you're 2 up, don't give it away, which Norwich did to a significant degree, because they just couldn't contain them. Had a makeshift back line, Ben Godfrey playing at left back, which is something we've never seen before, so Max Aarons continued at right. Christoph Zimmermann had a bit of a stinker of a game, really. Tim Closer did okay, and Alex Tettey shielding them as per usual. So the second half, a lot more even, not as open, a bit fewer spaces, a bit cagier. But it did threaten to kind of open up at spells and at times, and you could see that the more that happened, actually, the more I felt Derby would create better chances. That said, it was Norwich who actually got themselves ahead. Teemu Pukki again, lovely finish after a move by a good work by Anel Hernandez and Ben Godfrey in the build-up. That was on 81 minutes, at which point a fuse went in one of the floodlights behind the river end. We were down to 3 floodlight pylons, and we had a 15 to 20 minute delay. This was the floodlight went off during the celebrations, basically, for Pukki's goal at 3-2. The place was rocking, and then of course those 20 minutes knocks it out. You restart. It gives Derby a chance to regroup without, chasing their tails for a bit. And given the way Norwich have been playing late on, you'd imagine that they'd have built up some momentum. Derby would have chased the game, etc., etc. But by no means am I blaming that stoppage for what happened, because at that point, given the opportunity and the changes you can make and what have you, you can't then lose 4-3 in that situation, which is predominantly and exactly what happened. Josephson and I think Jack Marriott got the winner in the end, both coming from Norwich defensive errors. And I don't think Carrow Road could quite believe what it was seeing unravel, although it probably also could because of the evidence of what we've seen here. There was still time for Scott Carson to produce an excellent save from Todd Cantwell, and also Norwich to hit the underside of the bar, I think, in the very final moments. I don't know how close that was to crossing the line. I think that was Jordan Rhodes, but from just a remarkable finish. But it did kind of feel like this was going to be one dig too many and one hole too many to dig themselves out of. And then you have to break that down. Norwich are conceding far too many goals at home. It's exhilarating and brilliant that they can create the chances to get themselves out of that holes, but eventually you are not going to do what you hope or think you deserve to do if you keep conceding this number of goals at home. Norwich have to have the ability to tighten up, and I just think it's just got a bit sloppy and erratic. And it's great because you get whipped up into what they're doing, and it's phenomenal and it's brilliant character and all this sort of stuff, but you can't keep creating that sort of trouble for yourselves and expect to keep picking up the points. And let's be honest, again, it's the points that they're trying to work up so that they can finish in the top 2 or the top 6, not points that are trying to keep them bobbing along in mid-table. So some real issues for Norwich to deal with there. Individual mistakes again, but a makeshift defensive line. I do have an issue with, Norwich have had a brilliant squad that have stepped up and filled holes when there have been makeshift gaps to fill, such as with when Jordan Rhodes was out for a bit, early doors, and people have stepped in. That's great. When you have players out for a prolonged period of time, it does cause more of an issue. And that, I feel, could be a problem with both Moritz Leitner and Emi Buendia. They're going to be 2 big misses over a prolonged period of time. And to be honest, Jamal Lewis, 3 weeks is a long time, given Ben Godfrey had cramp at the end of this game, and Felix Paslak wasn't even in the 18. So what happens now at Brentford on Tuesday, which is, of course, New Year's Day? Some big decisions there, because this is that is, for me, and I'll write it in my 6 things, that game on Tuesday is now the biggest game of the season. It's absolutely huge in terms of the dynamic. Struggling Brentford away from home, Norwich defensively porous at the moment, but you wouldn't want just to pick up a point necessarily. But this is a defining moment of the season too, because as the table looks, it's fine. This is Norwich's first defeat in 13 league games. That's not bad. Derby are an excellent side on their day. They will finish in the top 6. I have no worries about that. They'll ebb and flow and they'll be inconsistent, but I think they have enough in them to finish top 6 in terms of energy, and they might do 1 or 2 pieces in January, I don't know, but they've got enough about them, I think, in a lot of ways. But they are erratic and they will trip up. So there's no shame in what's happened today, and I don't necessarily think this is going to inspire Derby to finish in the top 2 at all or anything like that. But they're a very good side. This was a tough test for Norwich, but it's now after that test is done. It's what they can do at Brentford, different surroundings, different circumstances and expectations, and the expectations are very different to what we all hope. But by the same token, it's almost like a level head and not an overreaction as to what has gone wrong and what needs changing. Would I bring Grant Hanley back into side? I probably would. And given the performance today of Christoph Zimmermann, he could be the one that makes way. Let's see maybe what he does with Tim Closer. That freshening up needs to happen in certain pockets, but it is certain pockets, and it can't be a sudden wholesale change. Well, let's give Jordan Rhodes a goal, let's do this, that, the other. I think that level-headedness is going to be quite important for how Norwich now build from a defeat, and that's what they've got to do now. They've got to take this defeat and build it, use it, see what they can do with it, and make sure that it is the only defeat they suffer in the next 5 games or so, probably, and just eke out some more points, keep those ticking on, and then rebuild again, because this is a very tough period for Norwich. We know we've got West Brom again, another reason why the Brentford game is so crucial. West Brom away, I think, is just after the Portsmouth game, so that's the next league game. West Brom away. We know that Leeds away is coming up. The Derby, of course, which is always a bit of perilous, and also Sheffield United coming here to Carrow Road, providing the FA Cup fixtures allow, and Birmingham at home. Again, a side that are doing far better than expected. So this is a really tough run of fixtures. Norwich need to keep themselves in and above water and about it. It'll be a test of their resource, their expectation, and what they've got at their disposal. All eyes on Tuesday and Brentford, because that is going to be some fixture. I feel like I've missed quite a lot out, and I do need to see the other goals again, because I couldn't really tell you what happened with the last 2 goals other than they went in and they generally came from Norwich issues. They fixed the fuse and the floodlights, so I don't think that's going to be another issue, which was horrendous because we didn't really know what time anything was happening, and also we didn't really know what was going on, to be honest, until the players came back out, and whether there was any chance of the game being abandoned. In the end, to say that the stoppage didn't have an effect on the game would of course be unfair and untrue and ignorant, because it ultimately did. But I don't think that maybe trumps Norwich's own ability to cause themselves real issues today. And it's not the first time. This time they couldn't get themselves out of the hole. I think what they need to do now is make sure it doesn't happen again, if at all possible. Further reaction and analysis, of course, at PinkUn.com, including my chat with Teemu Pukki. Also have a look at the PinkUn app, where you'll be able to get Paddy's Sunday brunch on a Sunday, which is of course tomorrow, just about catching up with what day of the week it is again. So all that for your eyes and ears. In the meantime, can I just say a massive thank you to everyone who's watched these video verdicts throughout 2018. It's been quite the year, and let's hope that in terms of what we've had for the second half of this year, that carries on into the second half of the season and 2019. Happy New Year to you all.